Hi, this is Calvin. You're going to have a video class today. I'm sure you're excited. So, we are going to talk about first today some types of essays. Now, with types of essays, we're only going to look at three today. There's many different kinds. And so I wanted to talk about and give examples and practice these three types, okay? Now, agreeing and disagreeing. What does that mean? Obviously, it's pretty easy in the title. They're all really simple, really. Agreeing, saying yes, and disagreeing, saying no. In this type of essay, you have to state your position of whether you agree with a statement that's said or disagree. So you can say, let's say, kittens. I agree kittens are the cutest thing, or I disagree. I think kittens are not cute at all, or somewhere in the middle. I find in the middle, though, is a little bit harder. It takes a little bit more effort to be very clear. And that's part of this, is you're always trying to be very clear and consistent with your agreeing or disagreeing. So your position is really, really important. All right? Next, we're also going to talk about multiple opinions. So this is where you discuss other opinions. It's not about your opinion, okay? So with multiple opinions, usually it's just two in any given essay that you see. In business, later on in your life, you might have a few more, right? A, B, C is usually the options about a strategy, what to do. I think we should do this, this, or this, and you're telling somebody else which opinion and which is the pro or con usually. So this one does have a lot to do with pro and con. What is a good and bad thing about each? You don't have to set it up that way, but it's the most common. So with multiple opinions, you're explaining what that opinion is, and then at the end, which do you agree with? Okay? So it's not about agreeing or disagreeing right away. It's first, what are the opinions? That's the most important thing, explaining those opinions, right? And then what's the benefits and the negatives of those? Causes. Now, there's lots of different kinds of cause essays. I only have two here. There are more. So cause and effects, cause and solution are the two we're going to look at. Now, with cause and effects, that's pretty simple. And you often have to write something like in high school about this, okay? In a situation, a report might be the most common kind of writing out in the real world, okay? So it might be something has happened, what caused it to happen, okay? What are the effects is what you're reporting on as well. Or solution. So this would start with the problem and how to fix it. So it comes from different ways. Often with cause and effects one, you start with the effect first and then what caused that effect. In some cases, that's not always the best. It really does depend on the subject that you're talking about. With cause and solution, I find it almost always starts with the cause and then go to the solution. Now, I do have a handout for you on these issues, okay? I'm going to go through these with you and then talk about them as well. And you're going to work on a few types of essays. No, you're super excited, right? Right. So, now with the structure of our essay, it's really important that it's easy to follow. That's the biggest thing. And how do you make it easy to follow? Well, your school teacher will always say transition words. Transition words are really simple words that you've used a lot. But it's really, really important that you include them all the time. It tells you and the reader where you are in your essay, where you are in your argument, okay? So words like first, next, and then, also. But we can also use contrasting transition words. On the other hand, so when you're having multiple opinions, when you go from the first opinion, going to the second opinion, on the other hand, or contrasting with something, right? So that way you're showing that you're changing from one opinion to the other opinion, right? And so transition words are really important for that kind of thing. Now I have some examples in here depending on the different types of essay, okay? with that, it does depend on where you are. And there's lots of different examples. So the examples in here I have shown are very useful to making sure that you have your beginning, your next point, changing your point, contrasting or comparing. All right, we've worked on that a little bit before. Now your style obviously is going to be formal. Now how do you make something formal? Well, first you have to look at the vocabulary involved. Make sure that your vocabulary has that feel of being formal. What do I mean by this? Well, I'm gonna write a thing to do, right? That's not really formal. I'm going to plan an organizational structured essay, right? So what you say, just use the different words. The more formal, higher level words almost always works better. Then from there, your grammar, you're going to have to use a lot more detailed or complex sentences. Don't always keep it shorter unless it's very important that you do so. So, hey, what up is, oh, how are you doing this afternoon, right? So it changes a lot when you mix the two, vocabulary and grammar, having a better style. So I know a lot of time when we're in class, it can be very personal. But with this essay, and I have again examples here of trying to write formally. So your first essay you're going to look at is agreeing and disagreeing. Now, with this agreeing and disagreeing, you're going to be presented with one opinion. That's a very clear example of identifying some types of essays, is being sure what kind of information is shown. So in agreeing and disagreeing, you'd only have one essay because you're not always going to know what essay type you're supposed to use. The real world doesn't say, oh, give me multiple point essay, or give me agreeing and disagreeing, or cause and effect essay. How do you know? Well, what are we talking about? Is there one opinion and somebody wants to know what you think about it? That's agreeing and disagreeing. Is there many opinions? Multiple opinions, pro, con. Cause and effect, right? We look at, is your boss want a report? Well, how did this happen? Cause and effect. How do we fix this? Cause and solution, right? So those examples are really useful. You have to think about, what does somebody want, right? So in this, our agreeing and disagreeing essay, we're going to look at some methods used in advertising are unethical and unacceptable in today's society. To what extent do you agree with this view? So when someone says how much, to what extent? How much do you agree, or what do you think about? To what degree do you view this as positive or negative? Same thing. How much do you agree or disagree? And that's really important. You can somewhat agree, somewhat disagree, totally agree, totally disagree. It's hard to be just in the middle, right? So with this, you're going to answer, and I have an example also on these pages with comments about what they do well. For the first one, and I have written here, I want you to take about 40 minutes to write this. It's up to you if you need a little bit longer or a little bit less time, but take about 40 minutes to write this, all right? And again, it states what you need to do here. So some of the methods used in advertising is unethical and unacceptable in today's society. To what extent do you agree with this? So you have to give reasons for your answer, include any relevant example from your own experience. I don't want you to research something for this. I want you to try and think about yourself. So you've experienced advertising, right? Whether in class, you've studied this. So I want you to tell me, what do you think? Is advertising unethical in some ways, or is it totally acceptable? So it really does depend on your personal opinion, right? So you can use opinion words, opinion vocabulary, but make sure it's formal. I find when we're using formal vocabulary, it's generally longer, in my opinion, instead of I think. It makes it a little bit more professional sounding, okay? So what extent do you agree or disagree with this? And then from there, you can take a look at the example essay I have here. Now this one is just under 300 words, so you don't need to do any more than that. I said, I think, The minimum is 250 words. If it's really strong, you can still bump it up 10, 20 words if you're a little bit short by adding some more formal vocabulary or adjectives and adverbs. Make it sound better that way, okay? And in here, this essay, this example, uses good transition words such as however, in addition, and therefore. It also uses to signal opinions. Now, opinions, how do you signal your opinion? Well, a further aspect that I would consider, so something you consider is part of your opinion, or it encourages people to buy products that they cannot afford, right? And that's backing up your opinion. Whenever you give your opinion, you either need an example or to explain. Okay? So without that, it's not very useful, because if it's just your opinion, it's just what you think. Right? And you can't have that. So always give an example or explain your opinion. All right. And they also use other things to help to control the flow, transition words such as it is certainly true that the next thing. So again, giving your opinion is very important. Next, multiple opinions, pros and cons. So on this page, the third page, you're going to write about your views on university education. Someday you're going to go to university, I believe, right? And then from that, why do people go to university? So there's different opinions about why we should go to university. So this has two views. The first, the aim of university education is to help graduates get better jobs. So is university there to make sure you can do the skills for the highly technical jobs? That's what it's for. You can then explain why that's important, right? Why can't you learn on the job? Certain jobs that could be dangerous, or it's too much time to train somebody while you're trying to do your own job. Okay. And then the second opinion is that university is to build a broader person with life skills, life ideas, make them a better overall person for not just a job, but society. Are they a big thinker? Are they someone who has ambitions and plans? And that's the bigger benefit of university. All right. So you must talk about both sides. What's good about both sides? What's bad about both sides, right? And then what do you think at the end? Okay. So again, you should take about maybe 40 minutes to write this. I say again, 250 words. You can go a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. All right. And then you have to give reasons and relevant from your own experience. I don't need you to research this. You should have some ideas about university already. All right. After you write, you can take a look. I have an example here that's about 280 words. In this, again, it does some things well, right? Again, stating your opinions, right? Stating other people's opinions. This opinion is of the idea that, right? Or whereas this opinion states this. Okay. And then there's other transition words and connectors, right? To begin, also, firstly, secondly, and then following. A case in point that with connectors, right? To give your example. So not just saying where you are, but stating that you're giving an example, right? That helps it sound more formal as well. Structuring all of this. All right. And the last one that I have given you today is cause and effects. I know I have solution on here. You're not going to be doing a solution essay today. Hooray! All right, so with the cause and effects, you're going to talk about the obesity, oh boy, in children, not me. Don't talk about me. All right, although I have chocolate right there. So you're going to be talking about the causes of why there are more children overweight and what are the effects. So I don't want you to talk about the solution. How would you solve child obesity? That's not the point of this, because there's different kinds of cause essays. And that's why this one's a little bit interesting when you're doing your writing, because a lot of students, oh, what causes childhood obesity? Well, here's how to fix it. You're not writing about what fixes it. What are the effects of too many children being overweight? Is there less sports that they play, right? Or is it that they are not able to do certain jobs in the future or have more medical problems? What? You're not telling me how to fix it. You're telling me what are the effects. Now, this one has a little bit harder setup sometimes because people are not always sure. I suggest for cause and effects, you have your introduction paragraph, and then you'd have a paragraph on causes. If you have two major causes, you could do two body paragraphs of causes. But generally, it's one body paragraph causes, one body paragraph of the effects, or if it was, solutions. You could, and I show here an example, do more, right? If they're linked together very strongly, cause, effect, or cause, solution, you can put body paragraph of cause and effects together for one, cause and effects for another one together as well. But again, they have to be very strongly linked. These cause to this effect, this cause to this effect, or this cause to this solution, this cause to this solution. You cannot just say, oh, I think these are kind of related. They have to be very specifically related. All right. And so the percentage of overweight children in Western society has increased by almost 20% in the last 10 years. Discuss the cause and effects of this disturbing trend. So it wants you to say it is a negative because it's saying disturbing trend. So that tells me what are the causes and the effects of this. We're not looking for any positive effects because it says it's disturbing, right? So again, 250 words. Again, I have no comments on this one. I didn't have time. But I have a model answer. You can look at that and decide, okay, what did this essay do well or not? But I want you to write 3 different essays with this about agreeing and disagreeing, giving your opinion, give an example and explain it. For multiple opinions, you're going to talk about the pros and cons, right? For cause and effects, you're going to talk about what causes it and what are the effects of this situation. Remember, for all of these, it's going to be an essay format. So you have an introduction and a conclusion paragraph. It doesn't have to, and especially in this one, it doesn't have to have 3 body paragraphs. That's not necessary. All right? Remember, I'm looking at your structure. Is it easy to follow? So knowing your transitions, having that's important. Does it have a style? Is it formal? Does it use that formal vocabulary and grammar? Remember that you're always using your personal explanations or personal experience for these essays to talk about these issues. I don't want you to have to do any research. So if you do have any questions, you can get back to me and email my boss, my wife. And with that, you can ask any questions. I'll try and get back to you very quickly. Write those. So that shouldn't take you too much time, right? It's a lot about personal experiences. And again, there's something that you either thought about or talked about in class before or could think about fairly easily in life using your Sherlock detective skills, right? Right. Especially for the obesity. Okay, so remember to send me any questions. If not, email back with your completed work. Okay? Thank you very much.